This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, we are rolling along here. Thursday edition of Money Moves, which means Thursday night football on deck. We will preview that at length with the two of us, as well as with Jeff Erickson, who's going to join us coming up in about 30 minutes. We've also got a handful of trends in college football in the National Football League we are going to put to the test, whether or not they are meaningful or meaningless, because Lord knows not all of those trends are created equal. We'll have best bets as well at the end of the hour. But let's just jump right into Thursday night football. Bengals Steelers going head to head. I want to talk a lot about this game from a prop perspective, since we laid out kind of our big picture thoughts on where both teams are at this point in the season in the first hour of the show. But a lot of props are dictated by game script. So how do you see this game kind of shaken out on the surface?
I don't know. I mean, I feel very conflicted about this game only because, again, I feel so down on Pittsburgh as a team in the grand scheme of things. I think if you just look at their overall profile, again, it would scream that we are not this good in terms of the record that they have. But having said that, are the Bengals the weapon I want to use to kind of attack them with? And I just don't think that's the case. I will say that Cincinnati did look a little bit more, what's the word we're looking for? Had a little bit more fight against Green Bay, right? I mean, it was a tight game, a lot tighter than obviously what the market would indicate here. And given the fact that this is a short week, I know we played the clip from Rodgers yesterday about the overall health and how he's feeling. You know, the entirety of that press conference I was watching this morning, and just the thoughts of, hey, look, like, you know, it's a short week and it's a little tough, and kind of some complaining, if you will, about, hey, it's a short week, but we know the NFL and it's making money. In other words, you know, it's tough to turn around on a short week and get this done. And we just saw this last week. I mean, we saw the last 2 weeks. These favorites go in these situations against these teams you think have nothing on a short week, and madness ensues, whether it's the Rams and the 49ers, whether it's the Eagles and the New York Giants. So I'm not running to the window here to lay 5.5, and I don't think I'd be surprised. Would you be, if we're in a tight one-score, maybe even Bengals lead type game going into the fourth quarter? I don't think I'd be. Division games are weird. Yeah. It's on the road. I could also see at times, like, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are a team you really like to bet on as a dog, not so much as a favorite, let alone a road favorite. And I think that they have caught themselves at times playing down to the level of competition a little bit, which can be dangerous, especially in a division game like this. So, yeah, I could see it. My play on this game, and I told you earlier, I'm going back to the well with the SGT, but I did just a 5-point teaser, so it's not as juiced. It's like minus 115. But with the Steelers just to win the game and over 40, because I do think the Steelers should be very capable. The way that they have turned the corner offensively, scoring, especially against a Bengals defense that we think is pretty bad in general, and we looked at all of the metrics that suggest the Steelers should be able to score in this one. And then a Bengals team with Joe Flacco that I do think that the pass game is going to be, I was looking at Joe Flacco attempts. I was looking at Joe Flacco yards in this one. The first time when he played earlier this season, I was looking at one of the numbers for Flacco, like his pass attempts was just like through the roof. And if you're in a negative game script where you're chasing potentially at some point, or you're trying to make something happen, what are you going to rely on Joe Flacco for most? It's with his arm. So I was looking at a handful of those different angles. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would quibble if I wanted to, start an argument with you. You'd love that. It's your favorite. Well, it's what we're supposed to do. It's not supposed to be all kumbaya. I would quibble with the wording of the Steelers' offense has turned a corner. I don't think we know that yet. Turning a corner indicates that they have moved past some sort of hardship and are on their way to improving. And I don't know if that's the case entirely. But maybe I will be proven wrong by this as we move forward into the year. As we talk with Nick, it sounds like I'm not the only one that is holding out reservations as to how good this team is. So I guess I would quibble with that assessment that they have fixed whatever is going on with their offense. I don't know if it's fixed, but I think it's on, as Aaron Rodgers even showed with his hand movement, it's going like this. It's going up. And so back-to-back games now for Rodgers where he's had a 115 plus rate, 7.8 yards per attempt. Last week we saw him throw for 235, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks taken, which I think is important too, the way the offensive line has started to stand up in front of him. I bet him over 1.5 passing touchdowns at minus 125 today, because when he does get in the red zone, he's been pretty efficient and been able to make plays and make things happen there. I didn't get involved on his passing yards or anything else like that, but I know, and we've referenced a couple times him speaking on the podium yesterday, you were very interested in the dynamic in the Steelers tight end room. Here is Rodgers
First on Jonnu Smith, followed by thoughts on Darnell Washington's roles that could make you lean one way or another on a prop tonight.
Just, play call coming their way, the execution on point, and the coverage lining up with the play call to get some looks. It's not like we're not trying to call plays for them, but if the coverage dictates where the ball goes. I like the progression. We didn't get him involved a lot in the first few weeks, but we started working in some of our big personnel sets with him and Spence on the same side. And I thought we had some nice wrinkles last week to get him more opportunities, but he's a smart player. He's very athletic for a man of his size, and it was fun to see him get some opportunities on Sunday.
So, JVT, that second comment on Washington, He had just one target the first 3 weeks, no catches, 3 catches now each of the last 2 weeks, 62 yards against the Browns, had that big catch and run in the first quarter. What do you think? Yeah,
and that's what I'm going to be curious about, because maybe I'm reading too much into it. But the fact that it seemed a little bit more, because the question he was asked initially was, are you going to try to get Jonnu Smith more involved? And the response just kind of being like, we'll see. The play call dictates. Where the other part of what the Washington answers showed a little bit more excitement as to what they're using with them. And I'm going to be curious if this might be a little too hardcore. So the Steelers' run game has not been very good. And so I think you're going to try to do that by putting in the 6'7", 270 dude that can help you block. He's been a relatively good run blocker, and working off of that. I mean, if you go back to, I think it was the first play from the game against Cleveland, they run a really good play action, and guess who just leaps off the line because he's a really good run blocking tight end and nobody really accounts for him? It's Washington. Yeah. So I think if you're trying to get this run game going, you're probably going to go, as Aaron Rodgers said, with some of those big sets a little bit more often. That means Washington's on the field a little bit more often, and thus, by that account, maybe there's going to be some more opportunities for him. You talked about targets and receptions. How about just total pure snaps? The first 3 weeks, 26, 23, and 20 for Washington. The last 2, 48 and 47. So he is on the field way more often. I think they're trying to supplement this run game in some way, and that might be getting some big run blocking tight ends out there. And I think that might be at the detriment to potentially Jonnu Smith. So we'll see if that's the case. But I think we're potentially starting to see Washington get a little bit more of a role here, and thus would maybe lean in that direction if you can find some stuff for him in terms of like receptions, receiving yards. He's at like 23.5 in terms of the receiving yards. Receptions 3+ is -112, or if you want to go over and under, those are out there as well, 2.5 over -112. So I feel like I'd rather go Washington. I think we're seeing his role evolve here a little bit more.
The Opta AI prop tool that we have up at VSiN.com, VSiN.com/props, has both tight ends going under their yards and receptions, but I agree with you that I think it can't account for the narrative portion of this, the usage portion of this. And you know what team gives up the most fantasy points to tight ends? Cincinnati as well. So there's that layer to it too. 2.5 receptions is the number for Washington, -115 to the over, and the receiving yards 23.5.
Yeah, I think I'd go in that direction. By the way, he had more overall snaps than Jonnu Smith last week too. So that just again speaks to, first off, if it's kind of this narrative already of like Jonnu Smith, I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing with him? And then you have this guy who's coming in a little bit younger and performing in a role that has really exceeded some expectations. I think that's where you're kind of looking at here. Those are receiving props right here, by the way, for watching at VSiN.com. How about that?
Hey, look at that.
Good job, guys.
What do you think about Chase Brown right now? What do we do with him?
I think he is a member of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Obviously, the numbers haven't been good. Yeah. But is that something we think will continue, or at some point is he going to work out of this funk a little bit? Because the numbers are getting to what you would imagine is a buy low point.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that we thought was going to happen last week that didn't, we talked about this with Warren Sharp, was that, hey, Joe Flacco, not only does he like to target running backs, but also this is a guy that if you're learning a new offense, what's one of the things you're always going to know? Where's your check down? Because you want to just get the ball out. Brown didn't do it. I mean, he had 2 targets and 2 receptions. That didn't really go well. So in the receiving game, he hasn't really been there. And to your point, rushing, I mean, it's been wildly ineffective. On a per attempt basis, it was his best game last week, but he still only had 42 yards on 9 overall attempts. I feel like you're just trying to, catch a ghost here at this point. At the beginning of the season, I understand that there was like this thought that he was going to have a pretty big role here. That clearly has not been the case. He has not been effective. He hasn't even surpassed 50 yards rushing in a game yet. Are you going to continue to try to catch this? Maybe, as the market continues to kind of dwindle. But at this point right now, if you've been trying to get there, why would you try it again here with him?
Okay. Did you have any thoughts on these passing numbers? So Rodgers 225.5, Flacco 232.5, passing touchdowns set for both at 1.5. Although for Flacco, if you think he can have 2 touchdowns or more passing, plus 133 is that number as well.
I mean, I would lean toward over on Rodgers. I'd also look a little bit more to bring these numbers up one more time. The explosive play rate that the Steelers allow through the air, the Bengals allow through the air, is pretty high. And so I think that I'd rather go in the direction of maybe like a longest reception or a longest completion for Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
They're not an overtly explosive passing attack. If you look at it like middle of the pack in terms of explosive play rate through the air, but you're taking on a defense that is among the worst in allowing an explosive play, by the way, is a passing play of 15 or more yards.
Yep.
So if you look at it from that perspective against a team that has real trouble with it, I think it'd go maybe in that direction as opposed to maybe going over with the in terms of yards, maybe longest completion instead. I also think there is a reality in which he goes over the passing yards prop and maybe that the projections are a little low because of the offense, the defense that he's facing.
Yeah, Bengals, to your point, 31st in yards allowed per completion. The prop for Rodgers set at 35.5, minus 115, but Rodgers just shy of 70% completions on the year. We talked about some of those Bengals defensive metrics. The Bengals giving up the second most pass yards in the league, 258.5, and his prop sitting there in the 220s. So it has been bet up a good bit. I think it was like 216.5, but bet up a good bit again. These props and projections available when you go to VSiN.com/props. There's an Opta AI feature. They have it for the NFL for quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, all of that stuff, the major ones. And also starting Tuesday with the start of the NBA season, VSiN is offering a free preview of our NBA player prop projection tool as well. That'll be available for a limited time to tip off the season. VSiN.com/props. Again, check it out. VSIN.com/props. We're going to step aside. When we come back here, are these trends in college football in the National Football League meaningful or meaningless? What actually matters to us as bettors next?
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Thank you, Brent. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino.
Who do you think Brent likes more, me or you?
Probably me.
It's a very fair and honest answer.
We've really bonded over the years. No, you were one of his original host mates, right? Back in the day.
Well, not host
but
mate.
Producer. You were his first producer. That's
go.
what it was. I knew there was some tie. I got there.
I was also, my actual title is first on-air producer at the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Thank you.
Is that what you put on your LinkedIn profile?
Correct. Also still have a picture of me on my LinkedIn profile with a shaved head because, I mean, I don't know. Who uses that?
What?
Who uses LinkedIn?
Lots of people.
Is it like a pop-in place?
That's how I, when I was coming up in this business, actually got some interviews and jobs was through LinkedIn.
Oh man, okay, I got to get on there then.
Yeah.
Not that they're not.
Well, you're leaving. That's cool. You're trying to leave. Got it.
No. Trying to become as famous as you.
Probably
I'm
should
trying
at
to
least
walk into a mixture of some sorts. This is totally not a real story that actually happened, but I want to be a person that walks into a mixture and then is courted off somewhere to go talk to strangers. That's what I want to happen to me.
You're so weird.
What are you talking about?
But by the way, you really should change that photo because it's kind of like, you know how there are some shows where they show the phone guest and the picture is of somebody from 20 years ago? I feel like that's kind of what your LinkedIn profile must be giving with the shaved head thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. See?
Oh my gosh, get rid of that. Get rid of that. That's like a mugshot. What are you doing?
It's me.
Oh gosh, we've got to find a way to get that to producer Justin to show to the world. And if you haven't checked John Von Tobel on LinkedIn, now's your sign. You got to go do it. That said,
I'll accept anybody who adds me because I don't even know what it means.
I want to get into some interesting trends here in college football and the NFL. And we talk about this all the time. Like there are always going to be these trends that you see pop up on social media that are, did you know? In October, when wearing white, this team does X, Y, and Z that aren't actually impactful, but there are a handful of them that could lend you to seeing that trend be something that matters. And so I compiled a few, some that I don't believe in, some that I think are interesting. So let's start in college football with USC Notre Dame, because I know that's a game that you and I both were intrigued by when we looked at the spread. USC 2-10 ATS on the road since 2023. It is tied for the worst in all of college football in terms of road covering in that time. USC tied with Pitt in that category. Meaningful or meaningless?
I mean, so I would assume this includes 2023?
Yes.
And then, I'm sorry, my brain is mush. Is that the first year they went to the Big Ten? Or was last year the first year?
Last year was the first year.
I mean, makes some sense. They struggled, obviously, last year in the Big Ten on the road. That was a really big deal. I think they only covered one game, or maybe they went 0 for ATS-wise in Big Ten play a season ago. So I think it makes some sense. The travel has been an issue. So obviously over the last year and a half now, they've been traveling farther, which is going to be a little bit of a problem for them. I'd also say I think it's like meaningless and meaningful at the same time, because you look at the weather reports that they're going to have to endure when they go out there this weekend to take on Notre Dame. It's a little bit of a problem. I don't think I'd be like blindly betting against USC because they have struggled. At the same time, whatever it is in Big Ten play, it's been a problem. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they are 0 for this year too, right? Went to Purdue, didn't cover. Obviously lost outright to Illinois. If I'm missing a true road game in there, correct me. But either way, it seems to have some merit to it.
I think there's something to it, especially to your point, though, since changing conferences, what that has meant.
Yeah.
But yes, those are their only 2 road games of the season to this point. So 2-10 ATS since 23, 0-2 ATS to start this season. Let's go to the Holy War. Although no one on national television that's broadcasting that game is allowed to call it that anymore.
Really?
Yes. Apparently, like they've tried to walk away from it. But all of the people I know and alums and everything still call it that. So neither here nor there. This is a game of absolute hatred in the state of Utah, and I'm so pumped for it. It was so much fun. My crew got that game last year when BYU was in such a good position where they were kind of running through their early portion of the schedule and thought that they were going to be in the Big 12 championship game type of a position. Even though Utah had been struggling the way they were, you knew that Utah was still going to give them a fight because that game matters to them, and it ended up coming down to a field goal. So BYU, as a dog, since the start of last season, 5-1 against the spread, best in Power 4 football. They are also 5-1 against the spread as a home dog the last 5 years. They've also won each of the last 2 meetings in this series. Do you think any of this is meaningful for BYU?
I mean, I'd say it's meaningless to the extent that it's only a 6-game sample size. But clearly the market has underrated this iteration of BYU since the start of last year. So I think there's probably something to the fact that the market has not believed in this team, especially at home, and they've been a little underrated. And now you're seeing it again where, market opens up, moves in favor of Utah.
Yep.
What about Mormons versus Mennonites? Does that work?
I don't know.
Okay.
I like that you're thinking it through, though.
Yeah.
That's fun. Let's go to Kentucky. 5-1 against the spread against ranked teams since the start of last season. 4th best in college football. Also 4-1 against the spread as a double-digit dog. They are welcoming Texas to town. That's the game I'll be on this weekend.
So give it to me one more time.
5-1 ATS against ranked teams since the start of last season.
Okay.
And 4-1 ATS as a double-digit dog.
I don't know. I'm going to say meaningless.
You think?
I don't know. Maybe they get up for. I'm so bad at this game, dude. Because every one, I'm just like, I don't know. It's 6 games and it's against ranked opponents.
What I kind of read into that is that Kentucky gets up for the bigger games, at least enough to cover a number.
Okay.
So I think there is something to that a little bit. And
I like the thought of them failing miserably in games that they like in probability have a better chance at winning. You know what I mean? Like unranked teams come in, they're just, sorry. Don't have a shot here, but some of these big boys come in and we're ready to roll.
This is the first time Texas has ever come to Lexington, a night game in the SEC.
Really?
Yep. And it's a spot where I feel like I could see Kentucky treating this as their Super Bowl a little bit, welcoming in like Arch Manning in Texas to town. It's homecoming, all those things. So potentially meaningful. Let's go to the NFL for the last few minutes. We were talking about the Carolina Panthers as a favorite this week.
Okay, yeah, you teased this. This is the big tease.
0-10 outright their last 10 times as a favorite. The last time they were favored on the road, week 2 of the 2022 season, also at MetLife, coincidentally, they were a 1-point favorite against the Giants, a game they also lost.
I mean, it's got to be somewhat meaningful in that. I don't know. You talk about people with role reversals and whatnot. You like backing this team when they're catching points because they don't have to win the game, although they have won the last 2 against some bad defenses. And statistically, this is another bad defense that they're going up against. I want to believe. I do. I really do. But this is just such. I'll go back to last year because to your point here about being 0-10 outright in their last few games as a favorite. Remember last season, They're on this streak of covering games. It starts with that Giants game in Germany, and then they have this fateful home game against the Cowboys where Cooper Rush has to start because Dak is injured. They go off as 3-point favorites, the Panthers do. Never in the game. Never in the game. And now I don't think that there's something to the point of like, hey, they found out they were favorites and they just crap the bed. But it's just to that point of, there is a reason why you've been consistently an underdog. But at what point does the worm turn and you're worthy of being a favorite? I think you can make the argument that we're kind of close to that point, and it might be here against a Jets team that seems to be listless right now on both sides of the ball.
I want to believe too, but a big part of why I liked Carolina last week against Dallas was because their offense has performed so different at home. And we've seen that even this season to this point. They're 0-3 on the road. They're 3-0 at home. Like, they have been able to produce points at a different rate in Bank of America Stadium. And Bryce Young has been very comfortable in Bank of America Stadium compared to on the road. So I want to believe too, but that game from a side perspective was a stay away for me. I'm just going to sit back and watch and root for Carolina and root our futures into existence.
This is statistically a very below average run defense. And we have seen this running game.
Rico Dowdle anytime touchdown?
I mean, maybe.
Come on.
I don't know about the phalanges that you're throwing up right now, but
Sorry, I do wildly long fingers.
but I will say it is hard to deny that he has been. Again, it's not even. He's been great. I will again stress for our audience: just go back and watch highlights where he's getting contacted the first time is incredible. At least the last couple of weeks, the run blocking's been unreal.
So how about this one? Chiefs against the Raiders. Chiefs are 7-0 outright, but 0-7 against the spread when they're favored by more than a touchdown dating back to last season.
Ooh, that's a big sample size.
Also 0-7 ATS, their last 7 divisional games.
So they're 7-0 straight up, but 0-7 against the spread is what I'm gathering from this?
Correct. Whenever they've been favored by 7 or more points, favored by 11.5 against the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, I will say.
They win the game, but they do not cover the number.
As somebody who doesn't really talk to anybody like that it's entirely in the building, but just getting a sense of this team doing some local stuff, because they have nothing going for them, they put everything into these Chiefs games.
Yeah.
So maybe there's not something to this overall, but maybe this week in a game that the Raiders, you talk about viewing it as a Super Bowl. Antonio Pierce kept his job because they won a game against the Kansas City Chiefs.
They had the recipe.
Yeah, so like if you're talking about a team that's going to be firing on all cylinders trying to get this thing done, it's going to be the Raiders in the one game that matters to them.
Plus, I also think there's something to that Chiefs fan that was part of the construction team at Allegiant Stadium that apparently buried a Chiefs flag in the foundation of the stadium.
Chiefsaholic.
There's that element of it too. Obviously, though, we talk a lot about the NFL and college football this time of year, but next Tuesday, the NBA season is getting underway. And when you're a VSiN Pro subscriber right now, you get access to everything we do at the website, including our new NBA betting guide that's out now. JVT, the guy to my left, has best bets, articles. Zach Cohen did a ton of work on this thing to get you set for the season. And I already have an NBA futures play in pocket thanks to JVT. The Charlotte Hornets I got
so excited. You have another one?
I told you I want to add to the portfolio, though, so you need to help me with a little bit more. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pick something from the guide. Find something smart Zach Cohen said, and I'll come back at you with it.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Okay, JVT, do we have an official name for Thursday Night Football yet? I know Cam Hayward keeps dubbing it the Icy Hot Bowl, but did you settle on anything you really liked for tonight?
Oh, you have to give me a couple minutes. I like to think about things like this. I'll have one in the next 120 seconds. Okay.
I think I like the AARP angle, so I'll stick with that. Let's see if our next guest, Jeff Erickson, can help us out with some suggestions as well, who joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. RotoWire senior editor joins us every Thursday talking through some prop angles in the National Football League. And for tonight, we were talking about it all day. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco going head-to-head here. But as Nick Bogdanovich pointed out earlier on the program, with modern medicine, who knows what these guys can do nowadays? How are you doing, Jeff?
Doing well, but as a viewing life through a Bengals prism, it's kind of the sad and depressing bowl is really what I dub it as, because every week is that right now for the Bengals. They showed up in the second half at least, but still last week. But I have no expectations for tonight.
If we're going for alliteration, Boomer Bowl's pretty easy.
But they're not boomers.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you're just trying to go with like the old man term of boomer, it's pretty good.
Okay, we'll
anybody over 25 is a boomer, right?
Ooh, that would include everybody on this show. I like it. Distinguished.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not ready for that yet.
All right, let's talk about this. You're going to be 40 in like 7 years. Think about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this game today. Anything from a player prop standpoint that sticks out to you today?
Yeah, Jaylen Warren. Bengals allow the most fancy points to running backs of any other team, any team in football right now. No Trey Hendrickson, most likely. I don't think there's any reason for that to change. Warren, second game back from his injury. I think it's full go for him today. 69.5 rushing receiving yards combined there. Seems pretty attainable, even if they get out to a decent amount of lead. He'll be one of the reasons why they get out to a decent amount of lead. I'd also like the tight end angle that we played last week with Tucker Kraft. Unfortunately, they have 4 tight ends, and it's tough to pinpoint which guy is going to score. A tight end will score against the Bengals tonight, but I'm not sure which one.
We were talking a little bit earlier about the uptick in usage from Darnell Washington and maybe looking at his receptions number over 2.5 or something like that. And when Rodgers was asked about him earlier this week, he seemed to at least have a little more pep in his step about him. Like, do you think we continue to see that usage?
Yeah, he might be. I haven't looked up what the anytime TD is with Washington. That seems like that would be a fun one to try out there. A little sprinkle. I can pull that up, but I think that might not be a bad play. Because, if he's getting that usage, plus, he had that touchdown a couple weeks ago. He did the basketball post up. He just turned around and squared up on the defender, and it's a huge guy. Against the Bengals' minuscule DBs, I think that could work.
It's plus 330, by the way.
And my logic too was that they're trying to get this, to your point about this running game, they're trying to get it going. So put the big run blocking tight end out there. And you go back to last week, Jeff, one of the first plays was a play action pass to him, and he was rumbling down the sideline immediately. So using him in that facet, I think is really helping him out. And I think he's surpassing Smith at this point too, right?
Yeah, I've cut Smith in my fantasy leagues, gone to other tight ends now. Yeah, absolutely. And same with Freiermuth too, unfortunately. They're just unplayable.
Not from a prop perspective, and if you can try at least for a second to take the fandom out of it, when you look at that 5.5 number or the total that has creeped up from 42.5 to 44.5, did you have any feel for the way this game is going to go from a side and total perspective?
Kind of feeling under here. I think that usually Thursday night it's a little closer to the vest. Every once in a while you get a shootout there, but a lot of times it's a little sloppy. I think the Bengals in particular with the short turnaround, I think they may have a hard time game planning for the Steelers. I think that Steelers pass rush will get home. Amarius Mims hasn't really taken that next step over at right tackle. I think that might be a problem tonight. So I kind of like the under in this one here. Side I'm going to stay away from. Divisional game, crazy things can happen. Mm-hmm. But if gun to head, I'd probably take the Steelers, but it's not a super strong field there.
All right, let's get to some of these other games then. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. They are getting a relatively important piece back here this weekend in Rashee Rice. What do we expect?
Yeah, this is my favorite of the player props for this weekend. And I see over at MGM, you can get them, or maybe it's not, I think it's everywhere. You can get them at 56.5 receiving yards. Really like that one there. He's been with the team the last 3 weeks. He was wowing him the preseason. He's back. He's healthy. The offense is already starting to click, and they're going to insert him right away. I think this is the lowest you'll ever get him the rest of the season, barring an injury of some sort, of course. But Rashee Rice, I think, is a top 15 receiver. Is an automatic start in fantasy, and I really love the over 56.5 receiving yards today.
Being the Bengals fan that you are, I know you watch a lot of the division, and for the Browns, Quinshon Judkins has had a really nice start to the season. I know last week held to just 36 yards against the Steelers, but went off for over 100 the week prior to that. What are you looking at with regard to Judkins this weekend?
No, first of all, the matchup is fantastic against Miami. They're a run funnel. We saw what Rico Dowdle did 2 weeks ago, and obviously Dowdle followed that up against the Cowboys, but they're also really bad defensively. I see a lot of teams that have been able to run the ball very well. We even saw Kamani Vidal have a big game last week. You know who else loves Quinshon Judkins? Is everybody loves Quinshon Judkins this week. If you look at any set of fantasy rankings, you're going to find him in the top 10 among running backs. Over 89.5 rushing yards. Add in that the weather might be a big factor in this game. I don't think you're going to see a lot of throwing. It's going to rain. It might be heavily, really windy in this one. I've heard reports of gusts being up to 60 miles an hour. Seems like a real ground chuck sort of game. And I think they made a mistake last week going away from the run and going away from Judkins last week against the Steelers. I just think it's a crazy idea to have Dylan Gabriel throw 52 passes against the Steelers. I think they'll learn from that one. I think you'll see a ton of Judkins this week.
The flip side of that, I know it's not on your list, but how do we handle Miami? Because I would not expect that Tua has the arm to cut through the elements either.
No, and in fact, I'd like the under Jalen Waddle 61.5 receiving yards. I know he's their main target, but I think it's against this Cleveland pass rush, when they already are hyper vigilant about Tua getting the ball out quickly. I think that bodes ill for Waddle. I think, with this win, I think you're right. I don't think he has the arm strength to cut through it there too. So I think it hurts all the receiving options, and Waddle's the most obvious target to try to go and get an under on.
Low total in that game for a reason, too. 37.5 is where we've seen that number drop. There is one quarterback, however, you are targeting for an over this weekend, and probably makes sense that he's facing off with the Dallas Cowboys this week.
Absolutely. Jaden Daniels. It's not even that high of a number, 228.5 for the over on the passing yards. I don't know if we're going to have McLaurin. We probably won't. I would guess bet against that there. Well, I'm not going to bet against. I got to be careful how I use my phrases there. But I would consider that he's less likely to play. But even if he doesn't play, I still like the over passing yards here. The Dallas DBs have been difficult. Elements won't be a problem in Jerry Dome, except for maybe an odd glare from the open windows. We'll see if we get into that again at some point in time there. But I do think that this is a game where Daniels is going to find some lanes to throw, and I think they're going to reestablish that there. I picked up Luke McCaffrey in a league. I think he's a desperation play. But, we've got 5 or 6 big name receivers out with injury this week. So you got to find some options. Always try to find a receiver going up against the Cowboys. Always use those quarterbacks against the Cowboys.
All right, what about New Orleans, Chicago? 2-part question. Any player props you like here? And will you be amongst the ones using the Bears in Survivor?
I am agonizing over that decision, JVT. I've got 3 choices: New England, KC, or Chicago. And I think KC might be lesser used than expected because of this unique circa format with Thanksgiving and Christmas, them playing on both of those days. The Baltimore pick on Thanksgiving isn't as much of a sure thing as it used to be. Philly isn't necessarily a sure thing anymore against Chicago. So maybe people would want to use KC versus Dallas. So maybe I get them at a lesser rate than I would have otherwise this week. So I thought about Chicago, but it's just also the weather might be an issue there too. And I do like the Spencer Rattler prop as long as the wind isn't too big of an issue on that one there. Over 206.5 passing yards. He's went under that number just once so far in his 6 starts. He's actually been pretty cromulent this year. I don't think people expected him to be that good, but I think he's their starter next year. Assuming that they don't get the first pick and they have that quarterback they want to hone in on. They have so many other organizational needs. I think they let Rattler go for another year. He's actually decent. I know they wasted the Tyler Shuck pick, the 40th overall pick, but I think it would be a mistake to put Shuck in. I think they need to keep playing Rattler.
Jeff, we've only got about 60 seconds left, but anything else you want to make sure we get out to the people today?
Pay attention to Michael Pittman, and if you can find one on Alec Pierce, I'd like the overs on them. If we, I haven't found the Pierce one yet, but Josh Downs with the concussion is an issue for the Colts. I think they're going to have to throw a lot against the Chargers. I also really like the Seahawks side on Monday night against Houston, -3 at DK right now.
Awesome. Jeff, you're the best. Appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate you.
Jeff Erickson, everybody. Again, check out all the work over there at RotoWire.
All right, I've got 5 for you.
5.
The Boomer Bowl. We've talked about that.
Oh, beautiful.
The Geezer Game.
Okay.
The Senile Bowl. Battle of the Geriatrics. Or the Senior Citizen Standoff.
I like that one. The Senior Citizen Standoff.
Yeah.
It's got a nice little
the alliteration
ring
going.
to it. I was trying to
Not my
think of
best work.
something with regards to arthritis, but couldn't get there. There was no alliteration I could make happen. I
You
really
could
like
kind of go
this.
arthritis contest, but that doesn't really, not really great. You do have to speak at some point.
I'm going to use the commercial break, bide my time a little bit.
Okay.
Get ready. We have best bets coming up after this quick timeout and a photo you will not want to miss. So I hope you have the VSiN Watch app to see.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So as much of our audience knows, I am very against AI. I do not want self-driving vehicles. I don't need it. I don't want robots to take over. It's like some of you people have never seen iRobot or any of those scary movies before.
Behind the scenes, you've created quite a few slurs for AI.
But slurs for AI? I don't know if I've done that.
Those dirty clankers, as you call them.
That's never come out of
Robots.
my mouth in my life. Yeah. However, during the commercial break, I did decide to go to ChatGPT to see if we could find some good
Part of the problem.
Thursday night football matchups, because the icy hot bowl, it's cute, it's clever, I like it, but we needed a few more options to go through this. And hit me with yours again, what you settled on?
I think I deleted them already. No, I didn't. The Boomer Bowl, the Geezer Game, the Senile Bowl, Battle of the Geriatrics, or the Senior Citizen Standoff.
How about Battle of the Bengay Boys?
It's a good one.
I think that one has a nice ring to it.
It's a good one.
The Senior Citizen Showdown.
That's pretty close to
Too
what I
obvious?
had. I mean, that's what I had pretty much.
That's okay.
I had Standoff as opposed to Showdown.
All right, yeah. I think Showdown is kind of just like what is it? How it used to be Red River Rivalry, but then they made it Showdown.
You can do the Senior Citizen Shootout.
Shootout? Do you think we get a shootout? Could we?
Could be, yeah.
My SGT would like it to go over 40,
Right.
so if we could at least get to that point, that would be nice. What was one of the other ones here? I know I didn't like the Silver Fox
You could
shootout.
do, no, but they're in Cincinnati. Because
The Midlife Crisis Classic.
Yeah, that's good too. How
I
about
think that's pretty accurate.
The Senior Citizen Shoot-Off in Cincinnati. That's pretty good.
Fast and the Furious Geriatric Drift.
That's not bad. A little wordy. You got to be quick with it. You got to be punchy.
Well, my
What was your punchline? What was your tagline?
I said kickoffs at 8, bedtimes at 9.
I like how you can't get through your own joke without laughing at it.
Because I need help. That said, that is my only real angle on the game. Is I did the SGT and I did Aaron Rodgers over passing touchdowns over 1.5, and we did.
For our audience, the SGT is in the same game teaser for you if you're not familiar with Stormy's vernacular yet.
Well, I mean,
We're just going to reset it for the audience. You might not know.
SGP is so popular. And I'll have you know, I did it at 5 points instead of the standard 6 points. So usually when you hear of a teaser, it's two separate spreads. You're trying to go through either two separate spreads that you parlay together. And usually it is a spread that you're trying to take an underdog through the numbers of 3 and 7, or the other way around, taking a favorite that's kind of down those numbers. But what I'm doing here is I did a 5-point SGT just to bring the Steelers down to all you need to do is win the game, and then the over 40, and I think, over flat 40 is the number I got when I bet it earlier, as that total was creeping up at a handful of books. What?
Meaningful or meaningless? Joe Flacco is 3-0 against the Steelers on Thursday night.
Ooh, meaningless. But fun fact. We love fun facts. How can you not? To dive deeper, though, onto the passing touchdowns, we talked, what?
Did you use any of my trends that I put into the rundown?
You put in some, too?
Yeah, at the very beginning of the show. That just hit me.
Hand them out. No, because if you put in trends in the rundown, why am I supposed to read them? That's your own thing.
You're the host.
Live your dreams.
You're the lead.
I thought you put them in there because you were so excited about them.
No, I just, as a good teammate, I had some stuff in there for you to throw out there. Via Evan Abram, Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin. Short rest on the road, 8-10 straight up. Short rest on the road versus divisional opponents, 3-7 straight up. On the road on Thursday Night Football, 2-9 straight up. And then the road on Thursday Night Football versus the AFC North, 0-6 straight up. So Tomlin on the road on Thursday Night Football against divisional opponents has yet to win a game in his life. Via John Ewing, though, in the Mike Tomlin era, Steelers are 25-11-1 against the spread versus the Bengals.
Okay.
Conflicting trends.
We love conflicting trends.
Yep. What do we do here? Including, by the way, 8-3-1 ATS when favored in Cincinnati.
So what I told you is I'm staying away from this number.
I would say that some of the trends or some of the games that involve Ben Roethlisberger, I'm probably going to throw the trend out.
maybe they're not as impactful. Big picture, though, I do have some hesitation backing Tomlin as a favorite more than a field goal just in general. So it's a spread that I'm staying off of. You know my disdain for the Cincinnati Bengals, particularly defensively. That's why I'm targeting Rodgers in the passing touchdowns. I think he gets to 2 or more. I think he probably goes over the passing yards as well, which might end up making the account. It just wasn't one of my best bets today. We talked about how the last 2 games offensively, the rating has been up. The yards per attempt have gone up. He's just shy of 70% completions for the year, taking on a Bengals team that ranks 31st in yards allowed per completion. They're giving up the second most pass yards in the league, more than 258 per game. Also, of the 6 teams that Cincinnati has played, 5 have thrown for at least 250. Only Carson Wentz didn't do it. And it was the game that there were all those defensive touchdowns and they were down 34-3.
Sure.
So I'm going to roll. That's the way that I'm going with it with Aaron Rodgers tonight, and just hoping for the best that they can continue to win games for my season win total.
Yeah.
Anything you put in pocket for tonight's game or no?
No, I will say that, I mean, we were talking a little bit more. The more I think about it, I will say the more I'm tempted to go with like Darnell Washington over 12.5 longest reception.
I think the over 2.5 receptions is a good look too.
Yeah.
If he just keeps getting that extra target, if he's on the field so much.
Yes. So again, he's been on the field way more these last 2 games, over 90 snaps on the field. These last 2 games, he had more snaps on the field last week than Jonnu Smith did. So that's always a positive as well when we're talking about this dynamic for the tight ends. And you're talking about a team that gives up explosives. And if you're going to be working off a play action and getting him out there, there's a chance that he could, like at the beginning of the game last week, rip off just one big catch and run to get you over that mark. So I think that is, why not? We'll do it. We got to get something to sweat tonight. Darnell Washington over longest reception, minus 120 and over 12.5.
I'm here for it.
You talked me into it.
You cashed your best bet yesterday. I went 1-2 last night. Still 4-2 for the week, but the hockey plays 1-2. The Panthers looked bad yesterday. Anton Lundell did score a point for us, so that was good. But the Lundell-Reinhart parlay didn't come together. More importantly, on the hockey front, did you see that the Mammoth revealed their mascot?
I did.
Let's go. Tusky!
Is that his name?
Yeah.
I didn't see.
I actually thought it was pretty cute, and they had him kind of burst out of the...
I saw the video.
Is that an iceberg?
An iceberg, I assume, or a glacier.
Glacier? Ooh, yeah.
Because a mammoth is
that would make more sense.
Stuck in the glacier or whatever.
Fair.
But yes, I did see that. It's one of 2 things that were unveiled the last 2 days in hockey. Hockey's on a roll.
He was stuck in a glass case of emotion and then glacier. What was the other?
Well, the Anaheim Duck mask.
Oh, yeah. Yes. That was cool.
Yes.
That was cool. I will give you that.
Hockey's on a good run.
So we'll see if we can push it through and finish a profitable week as we head into the weekend. I will not be here tomorrow. So to rehash some of the other best bets that we already did yesterday, 6-point teaser. We mentioned this earlier on the show as well, bringing the Colts up from 1.5 to 7.5, taking on the Chargers. I don't even think they should be a 1.5 point dog in that game. Personally, I think that they're better than the Chargers. I think they probably win the game, but getting that wiggle room up to 7.5, more than a touchdown for them on the road. And then the Patriots bringing them down to 1 at the Titans. Even if Tennessee does get that new coach bump situation after letting go of Brian Callahan and they're a little bit better, I still think the Patriots are really going to want to win this game for their head coach, and they're the better team. That's simple. So win the game. Also in college football, I thought you were going to say something.
No, these are your plays. You paused.
Yeah, but you have thoughts on those games, too.
I have lots of thoughts. I got a big head, but I want to make sure that people get your plays. I'm going to have the whole show to myself tomorrow. That's
fair. Also, yesterday on the show, to recap, Texas Tech in the first quarter, minus 2.5 at ASU. First half as well, minus 4.5. I think regardless of the Levitt situation, which it does seem he's going to play this weekend. He was listed probable on the official Big 12 injury report that came out last night. I just think with their starting center unavailable to protect him and an offensive and defensive line that got bullied last week at Utah, that I feel like they're going to have a pretty hard day against Texas Tech, particularly early, especially given ASU's first half struggles week in and week out this season. So going with that first quarter angle, and then Ole Miss in the first half as well at Georgia. I was curious your opinion on this one, plus 3.5. I think last week was just a very clear look ahead spot against Washington State. They escaped, should be significantly more buttoned up this week. And Lane's probably going to come out with a really good opening game script, offensive plan. Chambliss is a good dual threat guy who's great at the deep ball. He has 8 big time throws since taking over the job week 3, just 2 turnover worthy plays. And a Georgia team that has trailed at the half in 3 of their 4 SEC games to this point.
I think it makes sense. Like we've talked about, of the college lines, that's definitely on the list of playing Ole Miss just in general. So playing them in the first half would make sense as well.
I thought I went first half instead of full game as my official best bet, just because looking through how Georgia has played this year, I feel like Kirby's been a really good halftime adjustments type of a coach. In general, but this season in particular, you see some of the slow starts for them, or where they're having a back and forth type of a game early and they end up on the lesser side of it. Yet in the second half, they shut it down defensively. So that was kind of my angle there.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
All right. Anything else you want to get out of your system today?
No, I got a full show to myself.
All right, let's show the picture. Throw it up.
I was hoping I thought
throw it up. I did forget about it. I didn't write it down, but I teased it and we're making it happen. This is JVT's LinkedIn picture.
People have seen me with a shaved head. I've rocked it on the air for a long time.
So I think it looks a little murdery. Not gonna lie. Also, I am very anti people smiling without their teeth in general for photos. But you don't. When you're talking in day-to-day life and you're like, oh, that's funny. That makes me happy. You smile with your teeth.
It's not true.
Smile with your teeth.
No.
Live your dreams. Come on.
My dream is to not be judged by my smile.
I mean, I think we're really great friends, and I hope that you would be honest with me when I look like a serial killer, and that was mugshot potential.
We have to have a long talk, though.
Have a great day, everybody. Follow the money with Mitch Moss. Paulie Howard coming up after this.